Hey everybody, happy Sunday and welcome into it. This is the Rocky Top Rewind. I'm Eric Kane. We do the Rocky Top Rewind every single Sunday night from 8 to 9 o'clock Eastern Time, where we take your questions. We recap what the weekend was on Rocky Top. With now, it's little Tennessee basketball. We're going to talk plenty of Tennessee basketball. Tennessee baseball season has started. Spring football is right around the corner. And I got loads and loads to talk about. Looking forward to a big show here today. Brent Hubbs is not with us here this week, taking some time off, much deserved time off. Austin Price taking some time off as well. So look forward to getting those guys back in the fold as the week goes on. But we'll be joined by Matt Ray at the end of the hour. A little recruiting and spring football look ahead. 8:30, bottom of the hour, we'll have Grant Ramey joining us to talk about Tennessee's draw in the NCAA tournaments. And coming up at 8:15, a very special guest. Not going to say his name just in case we won't have any technical difficulties. But at 8:15, you're going to be wanting to dial in here to the Rocky Top Rewind. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. Please fill out those comment sections. Tell us where you're watching, where you're listening from. And let's pound that like button. The goal is always to get this video up to 500 likes. Helps with the algorithms and everything with YouTube. And gets this video out in front of more Tennessee football fans and basketball fans. And we got loads to talk about as well. And also a yearly subscription of Volquest.com, $29.99. Really good deal. Yearly subscription of $29.99. You get loads of premium content that you can only find at Volquest.com. All right, so the big news here on Selection Sunday is Tennessee gets that 4 seed in the East region. Better have your coffee ready, right? See, I went ahead and already got some of my coffee ready. It's going to be 9:40. Eastern time tip-off. Getting tired just thinking about it, right? 9:40 Eastern time tip-off. The 4th-seeded Tennessee Volunteers taking on 13th-seeded Louisiana. That game's going to be in Orlando, Florida, and it's going to be televised on CBS. Tennessee gets the 4th seed in the East region. And I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check out what me and Rob Lewis already put on the site. Grant's written up a couple of awesome stories already, breaking down Louisiana, Tennessee's draw in the NCAA tournament, all that type of stuff. But me and Rob, we got on board and did a little video right after the announcement was made. And I don't know if you kind of checked all that out, but you got Tennessee, the 4, going against Louisiana, the 13. If Tennessee advances, you're looking at likely a second-round matchup with 5th-seeded Duke. And Duke's not been super aggressive and super like the Duke of old with Coach K and all that this year, but playing better than maybe everybody in the country right now. Just ran through a couple really good slates there the last 2 weeks of the season. Ran through the ACC tournament, had its ACC tournament championship in John Shire's first season as the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. So if Tennessee wins on Thursday at 9:40 Eastern time, likely looking at a round of 32 matchup against the 5th-seeded Duke Blue Devils. If Tennessee were to win that game in the round of 32, advance on to the Sweet 16, well, number 1 seeded Purdue for the East region. So it's a pretty tough slate if you ask me. Yeah, Purdue is the 1 seed here in the East region. All the way at the bottom of the bracket, you've got Marquette as the 2 seed. Of course, the 3 seed in this side of the bracket is, I can't forget, there it is. It's Kansas State. Tennessee's the 4 seed. Duke is the 5th seed. You have Kentucky as the 6th seed. And Michigan State's the 7th seed. You got USC's in this region as well. And so, like, whenever you're going through the selection show and they're saying this region, this region, this region, you kind of have a list here. Okay, well, you haven't heard Tennessee, you haven't heard this team, you haven't heard this team. And so it's like, okay, all these teams are going to be in that last region, and it's going to be in the East, and that's kind of what it looks like. But there you see the bracket right there. Tennessee and Louisiana. If Tennessee moves on, likely playing Duke in the round of 32. If you move on from there, you've got Purdue at the top of the bracket. So it's kind of tough sledding, and it just is what it is. Tennessee is still that team that can play up to anybody, can, in my opinion, beat anybody. It's got the best defense in the country. But with the loss of Zakai Ziegler, who obviously is such an adrenaline pump for your team, he can create his own shots offensively, all right? But he's also a great perimeter defense. And you've seen at points in times where Tennessee really struggled since Zakai has been out in perimeter defense. Really tightened the bolts in the second half against Ole Miss to allow only, 55 points. But in that first half, it got a little crazy. And, of course, in games since then. So, not having Zakai Ziegler obviously is a blow for this team, but it just kind of depends on, which Tennessee shows up. Is Josiah Jordan-James going to step up and give you 20 points like he did the other night? Is Olivier Cumwa going to give you 10 rebounds? Finish with 10 rebounds and a double-double effort? Those are the questions, and that's just the inconsistent play that Tennessee, unfortunately, has seen for the majority of the time this season. So, with all that already, and then you put it in this tough draw, it's just it's going to be an uphill climb in my opinion. But we're going to be looking forward to that. Tennessee getting in action against Louisiana, 4 against the 13th seed. That is coming up on Thursday, 9:40 Eastern time. And again, go ahead and get your coffee ready, and we'll see what happens. Let's take it over here. We're going to answer all of your questions throughout the show. Again, special guest coming up at 8:15. Sam Smith chiming in. Kane, a big weekend ahead. I'll ask the question everybody's asking: how do the Vols match up this weekend against Missouri? A little baseball fluff in here in a basketball segment. Hey, Missouri's surprisingly pretty good. I think Missouri's better than what anybody would even think at this point in the season. They played a tougher schedule than Tennessee. Obviously, I'll have my preview matchup coming up later in the week, but this is going to be no slouch, Tennessee and Missouri. I'm not saying Missouri's a regional team or anything, but I think that Missouri's not that bad. I think it'll be a good challenge on the road for Tennessee. The baseball team, of course, is now, what is it, guys? 12-3. I don't have the record in front of me, but coming off another sweep over a weekend series with, gosh, who did they just play? I was there. I covered it. Tennessee and, of course, Morehead State. So, but back to basketball. Alabama's the number 1 overall seed in this in this tournament, and you knew it didn't matter what they look like in the NCAA tournament. That likely was not going to change. The SEC has 8 teams in the field of play. That ties the Big Ten for the most from power conferences. Alabama's the top number 1 overall seed. It resides in the South. Tennessee is the 2nd team from the SEC, a 4th seed in the East. Kentucky, 3rd team from the SEC, a 6th seed in the East. You've got A&M as a 7th seed. What do you guys think about that? A&M as a 7th seed. We knew the non-conference games might come back to bite them later on, but again, you had such a great regular season. You finished 2nd in the Southeastern Conference. You played in the championship game and in the tournament championship game. Again, that stuff doesn't matter anymore, but should they have been slided so much to be a 7th seed? I think they could have been a 5th, maybe 6th, maybe even a 5th seed. But nonetheless, you have A&M as a 7th seed in this tournament. Missouri's a 7th seed in the South. Arkansas is an 8th seed in the West. You have Auburn, that's a 9th seed in the Midwest. Mississippi State, 11th seed in the Midwest. No Vanderbilt. No Vanderbilt at all. There was a point in time, earlier in the season where Vanderbilt was like, was it 11-12? I mean, 10-12, something like that. Again, it's tough, and we say that the committee doesn't care about conference tournaments, because look at what Vanderbilt did to Kentucky on Friday night. I mean, that was a really, really good win, taking down Kentucky, who the committee values as a 6th seed, and that doesn't help Vanderbilt out whatsoever. So, nonetheless, Tennessee and the SEC, 8 teams in the dance, tying the Big Ten for most from the power conferences. Which region do you guys think is the easiest? I think, again, this is only a little over an hour old, so I've been doing a lot of stuff specifically on Tennessee, but I think this East region's pretty tough, and I've already kind of gone through there with Purdue at the top, Tennessee, Louisiana, the 4-13, facing probably number 5 Duke in the 2nd round, and then a date with the top seed in the region. But looking over here at the West, number 1 seed is Kansas. Tennessee has beaten Kansas already. Tennessee has beaten Arkansas, who's also in that region without Zakai Ziegler. Well, most of that game without Zakai Ziegler as well. Gonzaga, who's Tennessee played in, and again, it was so long ago, but exhibition play. Gonzaga is in that region. UCLA is the 2nd seed, and we'll have to go up against UNC Asheville and Drew Pember, who got a whole lot of love on the selection show tonight as being one of the best players in the country. That was kind of good to see. But that's kind of the highlights of the West region. You look at the Midwest, Houston is that number 1 seed up there. That Iowa-Auburn 8-9 matchup is pretty sexy. You have Miami, who there was rumors that Tennessee might square off in a 2nd-round bout with Miami, but of course it didn't fold that way, but Tennessee avoids Miami. Iowa State's a 6 in that one. Xavier's a 3 in that one. That's, of course, A&M. And then you have Texas and Colgate. Potential 2nd-round matchup with Texas A&M and Texas Longhorns. Of course, that's fun. That's really, really cool, but is it needed that early? And again, you could have avoided that if Texas A&M was seeded a little higher in the field of play, but nonetheless. And then let's look at the South. That's where Alabama is, leading the way, top seed overall. You got Arizona, who Tennessee played tough, lost by 5 points. That's the 2nd seed. Missouri's in that one. Missouri-Utah State is a 7-10 matchup people are going to be paying attention to. NC State made the field of play. Will square off against Creighton in that 6-11. Virginia and Furman, that is going to be an interesting bout. I'll be intrigued to watch the betting lines for that one because Furman is a trendy pick as well. Maryland and West Virginia, that 8-9 is something to pay attention to. So what are y'all's thoughts on the regions? Because, I mean, I kind of think Tennessee's in the toughest one in terms of just trying to get out of and make it to the second weekend, and that being the East. So give me your thoughts. Fill up those comment sections. I'll take a look over here. Let's see here. Trent wants to know, how is Hubs coping with a potential Duke versus Tennessee matchup in the second round? Who is he rooting for? I didn't know it was Duke. Is Hubs a Duke fan? I wasn't for sure about that. Let's see here. Missouri and A&M were seeded too low. That's from Michael. Couldn't agree more. Let's see. Wayne says the Vols are lucky with the injury to Zakai Ziegler to be a 4 seed. I would agree, and that was kind of the conversation on the selection show by saying, Tennessee is seeded 4th, probably overseeded because of what it did in the regular season, because of the teams that they beat. But that's before the injury of Zakai Ziegler. Now, before Tennessee footballs lost to South Carolina, of course it didn't matter because Tennessee went ahead and lost to South Carolina. But if you were saying that injury to Hendon Hooker shouldn't matter in terms of a discussion for college football playoff, well, that's kind of the same discussion here. Zakai Ziegler's loss, it factors into it, and people kind of factored into it. So I would agree. I think Tennessee still being that 3rd, 4th seed is very fortunate because you lost, one of your best players. So nonetheless, it'll be interesting. And of course, Volquest.com going to have all that coverage. Rob and Grants are going to be on the scene covering Tennessee and Louisiana, 9:40 Eastern time. Telecast is going to be on CBS, so have fun staying up for that one. You and I both will, but that's kind of how Tennessee is going to get going here. And we'll see how long Tennessee can last in the NCAA tournaments. A couple of tidbits here real quick before we transition into a new topic. Tennessee's been to the NCAA tournament 24 times. This will be the 4th time overall Tennessee has been a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Rick Barnes, 25-26 record overall in the NCAA tournament in 26 trips. So it'll be interesting. Tennessee, Louisiana, the 4-13 matchup in the East region. First game Thursday from Orlando, Florida. That'll be at 9:40 Eastern time. All right, guys, we're going to transition here in just a moment, talk a little football, but right now we're talking March Madness. It's officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big with the nonstop action over at MyBookie. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting on eventual national championship winner, or simply looking for a player for game props, MyBookie has you covered. Getting started with MyBookie is so simple. Just simply visit online, make your first deposit, and use that promo code Volquest to claim an exclusive deposit bonus. That's promo code Volquest, 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 to claim some extra money on top of your initial deposit. With hundreds and thousands of prizes of March Madness and a weekly blackjack tournaments, you can turn your game day into payday at MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. March Madness is here, and go ahead and win today with MyBookie. More here on the Rocky Top Rewind when we return. Welcome back into the Rocky Top Rewind. I am Eric Kane here at Volquest.com and Volquest on the YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys for being with us here today. Looking forward to talking some more Tennessee basketball with Grant Ramey. He's going to join the show in about 15 minutes. Matt Ray is going to join us here in about 25 minutes to talk a little recruiting and look ahead to spring practice. And you can be a member of the Volquest community and the exclusive, lovely General's Quarters with a simple fee of $29.99 for a yearly subscription. Hope to get a special guest on the show here in just about any minute, so stay put. But until then, let's kind of look ahead to spring practice. It's going to start the week after, you got this week, then it's going to start the first and next week around the 20th. And so there's a lot of questions, for Tennessee as we get into spring practice play. Of course, Brent Hubbs has done a nice job of kind of putting out some of his biggest questions he has. You can see all those at Volquest.com. There'll be continued content coming out throughout the week for newcomers to watch, veterans to watch, position battles to watch, and all that. But there's going to be a new identity here, for Tennessee. Hendon Hooker is no longer the quarterback of this team. Jalen Hyatt is off to the NFL. Cedric Tillman is off to the NFL. Darnell Wright, who has been a staple on that offensive line for the past 4 seasons, started over 40 games in Southeastern Conference play. He is off to the NFL and might even be a first-round pick. So if you're just looking at it offensively, and Jerome Carvin, a guy that nobody's even talking about, that's been a staple and has been a guy that has played a whole lot of football on that offensive line at both guard spots, a little bit at center. He's gone to the NFL as well. So that's just the offense. And we've talked about how John Campbell needs to have a really good spring, just kind of coming in here, adapting and looking forward to trying to contribute right away. But also, if you flip over, defensively, you don't have Byron Young. He's no longer a part of the team. And, some of those guys and some of those plug players on the defensive line. Look at linebacker and Jeremy Banks, who has been a super, super productive player for the Volunteers each of the past 2 seasons. Had 128 tackles a season or 2 seasons ago and was, leading the team in sacks. Kind of a bull in a china shop and, just really needs to kind of play within himself. And that's something that Brian Jean-Marie has mentioned many, many times, but a really productive player, any way you want to spin it. He is no longer there for Tennessee. Solon Page is gone as well, and there's some other guys from that middle layer, but you do get Aaron Beasley back, which I think is big. Juwan Mitchell's, gone to the transfer portal. You add Keenan Peely to that mix. You have Aaron Beasley. You got some mid-year enrollees that I think is going to help Tennessee out an awful lot. But you also have some second-year players who I think are going to make some noise. Elijah Herring, Caleb Perry, as a guy that I think we should all be paying attention to. So kind of what does spring look like for them? And then obviously the secondary. I mean, who's going to step up? Danico Slaughters at corner. How quickly can Gabe Judy Lally, formerly of BYU, formerly before that of Vanderbilt, how quickly can he get in and step up and add something to the cornerback position? What's safety look like? Jalen McCullough's going to be back. Is Wesley Walker going to be your other safety? Is Christian Charles going to be, back to safety and that's going to be his home base? What's kind of that position look like? So really intrigued to see kind of what some of these position battles kind of turn into in spring practice. And of course that all gets started here in just a little over a week. But back to the offensive side, something I talked about, and I know something Brent's talked about an awful lot, the tight end position. It's so critical because the way Tennessee runs its offense, it's up-tempo offense. You want to be able to stay on the field without substituting. And so you need a guy, a Swiss Army knife, that can kind of line up and do a little bit of everything. And Tennessee's been super fortunate each of the past 2 seasons to have 2 tight ends who could do that. And, Jacob Warren and Princeton Fant. Jacob Warren's coming back, and that is huge for Tennessee. There's point signs where you didn't know if he was going to be coming back, but he is. And then you have McCallum Castles, formerly of signed with Cal out of high school and has been at UC Davis the past couple of seasons. And how quickly can he get adapted? He was here for a couple of those practices during bowl season, and that was good to see. But putting the pads on, what does he look like? How quickly can he adapt to this system? That's going to be big because I think Ethan Davis is going to be huge for this team, Ethan Smith. But he also had an injury. He also had an injury, coming into Tennessee. So kind of where is he in the strength and conditioning? I think he'll be a player down the line, but Tennessee's going to need McCallum Castles, no matter what, to step up and to fill that spot of Princeton Fan. Now, he's not going to be Princeton Fan. I doubt that he's going to be taking handoffs out of the backfield and scoring touchdowns, but can he line up on the line? Can he line up in the slot? Can he line up at H-back? He wants to go to the National Football League, and so that's why he chose to come to Tennessee, and he'll have an opportunity to do so. But that tight end position is what makes this offense go, and so that's my biggest question, moving in for Tennessee, for spring and on into fall camp. A lot of people want to talk about Joe Milton, and deservedly so, because, again, the quarterback is the most important position, in my opinion, for not only Tennessee, but also for every single football team out there. I think it's the most important position in all of sports. How will Joe Milton be in terms of being the guy? We're going to have to find out, but he's a veteran guy. He's now a third-year guy in the system, and I think that he's going to be ready to roll, and I can't wait to see what he looks like next season. But some big questions at the quarterback and some other positions for Tennessee in spring practice, and that all gets started on March the 20th, week after next. We'll talk more spring practice coming up later in the show with Matt Ray, but right now, I do want to bring on a very special guest. Former Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman is now going to join the show. Cedric, what's up, man? Welcome to the Rocky Top Rewind.
It's good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Appreciate the time, and wanted to get in here and catch up a little bit. You took part in the NFL Combine last weekend. Had a really good showing. Kind of how was that experience for you?
It was a great experience, being able to be down there. But I think 6 other of my teammates, I think it was 7 of us total. It was a dream come true. We just try to go out there and put on a show, and I think we all did a pretty good job.
For you in particular, it was, a little bit of a different process. I know nobody's ever 100%, by the end of football season, but gosh, man, you were never 100% from week 3 on, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get healthy just to get back out there on the field and help your team, but then trying to get healthy to go out there and perform well for a very important part of your process going to the National Football League. How do you feel right now, and how was that process of getting healthy in preparation for last week?
Yeah, well, right now I feel great, feel 100%. And definitely, like you said, after week 3, I think everybody knows I unfortunately had a high ankle sprain that I kind of had dealt with all year, tried my best to come back, fight for my team, try to help my team win. But unfortunately, it wasn't all the way 100%, but just got to be a professional in that aspect. Just got to keep going to rehab, try to keep doing what your team asks for you. And, when the season was over, came out here in Texas. That's where I've been training. I was just, working hard on rehab so I can be ready for the combine.
When did you kind of know, and I'm sure there's aspects of the combine, just like aspects of every football game, that you wish you could go back and, do a little differently, but when did you kind of know in your rehab process and your training process, like, okay, I'm back to feeling like myself again. I'm really confident. You're a confident guy, kind of confidence going into the NFL Combine.
That's a great question. I would say probably it was January.
Okay.
I can't point out a particular day or whatever, but I know it was sometime in January. So just one of those deals where, my ankle was doing good, felt comfortable doing, what I need to do as a receiver. So definitely sometime in January.
So obviously you go out and you compete and you run the 40 and you catch balls and do the broad, vertical, and all that. But the rest of the NFL Combine experience, meeting and speaking with teams and talking with media and stuff like that, kind of how was that experience for you? And what were some of the good stuff that maybe you heard in return?
Yeah, it was great. I was fortunate to meet with a lot of teams, met some great coaches, great staff members and stuff like that. So it was definitely a busy week, but it was definitely a dream come true. And really just what I'm hearing from NFL teams is, it seems like, a lot of teams are interested in me. I have no idea where I'm going to go. So I guess we'll all find out on draft day.
Kind of how exciting is that? I mean, I know it's a dream to play in the NFL, but literally you are going to be selected by one of 32 teams, and you could be, 2.5 hours to our west, or me right now in Nashville, Tennessee, being one of those teams, or you could be all the way out in Seattle. I mean, there's no telling where you could end up. I mean, maybe a little anxious, but also that's just got to be super exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Coming from Vegas to Tennessee, that was a world change. I had to get used to it. So, I'm kind of used to moving across the country. But nevertheless, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't anxious to figure out where I'm going to go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looking at this past season a little bit, and of course you dealt with some injuries and you battled back. You came back and played, and and then maybe there was a setback or something. I know you're a great teammate and you were thrilled with the success that you guys were having overall, but kind of how difficult was it, man, being on the sideline some of those times and just not being able to go and help your team out?
It was hard. I've been to Tennessee since 2018, and I'll be honest with you. All I used to hear was when I first got there was when Tennessee's winning. And just to be honest, we weren't winning, and we were having losing seasons. So I never really got the full Knoxville, Tennessee on top experience. And this past year, it was hard because you worked so hard to finally get that. And it didn't turn out the way I wanted to personally, but, thinking about it as a whole, I'm part of the Tennessee family. And just being able to see my brothers and my teammates and the fan base and everybody part of the T, just to see the reaction towards the season, it was great. So it was still a great season, and I had a lot of fun.
Obviously 10 wins in the regular season this past year, 11 wins overall. Tennessee completely clicked this year, but the switch was kind of flipped in 2021. And for you, you had your breakout year, had over 1,000-yard receptions, receiving yards. I think you had like 12 touchdowns. And I know you're a confident guy, and you've always had that confidence in your abilities and everything. But maybe what was different about the 21 season for you that kind of really got you going as the Cedric Tillman we know now today?
I tell people, a lot of coaches ask me at the combine. I just think, Coach Heupel just gave me the keys. He just trusted me. He said, "Hey, we need, we don't, none of us have really solidified ourselves as that go-to receiver." And I know going into 2021, I had a great opportunity to do that. So Coach Heupel and Coach Burns kind of just gave me the keys and kind of helped me with my confidence, and I was able to go out there and perform.
What's it like playing for Coach Heupel? Coming in different type of offensive philosophy and all that, and being a former quarterback at a high level, kind of been there, done that mentality. What's it been like playing for Coach Heupel the last 2 years?
Oh, it's great. Like I said, playing for Coach Heupel was great. He's a very energetic coach. He loves his players. He really cares for his players. And, when players can feel when a coach is genuine with them and they're not. And I just feel like that was really the switch. It was just the fact that Coach Heupel came in with his style, his, leadership, and we were just able to follow them.
When you look at the offense for Tennessee next year, I was kind of mentioning this before you came on. I mean, obviously Hendon's gone, Jalen's gone, you're gone, Darnell Wright's gone, but still bring back a lot of pieces. What do you like about this group coming back, and what makes you believe that success will continue to sustain offensively?
I just believe in Tennessee and what they got going. We did have a lot of guys leave on the offensive side of the ball, but we got great guys that are ready to go now. Joe Milton. Obviously everybody knows what he can do. I'm really looking forward to see what he does this year. I know he's going to have a great year. We got some great receivers out there: Brew, Ramel, Squirrel, so on. So defense side of the ball, we got some guys coming in, and at the end of the day, those guys play hard. So I'm excited to see. I expect nothing less but another dominant season, and hopefully they can go even farther than we did.
Sid, I want to ask you about two guys before we say goodbye real quick. Frustrating as it was for you last season, it was pretty cool, I would imagine, to see one of your brothers, one of your teammates go out there and have all that success with Jalen Hyatt and, getting that Biletnikoff award over this past weekend. Kind of how neat was it seeing him go off that way, and kind of how was that process with you guys? Because I'm sure he used you as a sounding board even when you weren't even on the field there for that particular game.
It was cool. What I'm saying? I've seen the work that, Jalen has put into, obviously off seasons, the tough times he's been through. I just try to be there, like a big brother, and just be in his ear. And me, coach, and everybody else, we knew what he can do. And so just the fact that he was able to go out there and kind of show the world what he can do, I'm proud of him. He won the Biletnikoff award. He putting Tennessee back on the map. And, he definitely left his mark at Tennessee.
Ramel Keaton stepped up, had some really big catches, really big games, filling in. And he's a guy that as well didn't see an awful lot of him the previous couple of seasons, but when the team needed him, he was there, and he was magnificent. What have you seen in Ramel Keaton, not just last year, but throughout his entire time at Tennessee?
Ramel's always kept his head down and work, and I think you can really admire someone that does that. I look at Ramel as a guy similar to me, where, maybe not necessarily had the success early on that he wanted, but hey, the sky's the limit now. So I know, he had a good year last year. I know he's going to follow it up with a better year this year. And hell, why don't we have 3,000-yard receivers next year in the receiver room? So let's do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing, man, and obviously you don't have to disclose this right here, but Combine's done. You got a pro day coming up in a couple weeks as you continue on through this process towards the NFL draft. What are you most looking forward to at the pro day coming back here on campus?
I'm just looking to see all my coaches and stuff like that, seeing all the community and relationships I've built in Tennessee, and obviously just going out there and competing and balling out on pro day. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe some things I feel like I could have done better at the Combine. Looking forward to doing those things at pro day, so I'm excited about it.
Well, Cedric, congratulations on a great Tennessee career, on an outstanding NFL Combine experience last weekend. Looking forward to seeing you at the pro day, and of course, looking forward to hearing your name called later on in the spring at the NFL draft. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
That is former Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman joining us right here on the Rocky Top Rewind. Really appreciate that. When we come back, we're going to get back into what we're talking about here tonight, Tennessee hoops, a 4 seed in the East region, and going to take on Louisiana at 9:40 Eastern Time on CBS. That is coming up next, or that's coming up on Thursday. We'll break it down with Grant Ramey, Volquest.com, when we return right here on the Rocky Top Rewind. It's 8:32 local time here on the Rocky Top Rewind. Got about 30 minutes left in the program. Appreciate you guys for watching here on the Volquest YouTube channel. Please, if you haven't already, help us out. Let's go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Let's like this video. As always, trying to get it to 500 likes and $29.99, a 1-year subscription to Volquest. So come and join our family. Great deal there happening at Volquest.com. All right, let's get Grant Ramey on here. Does a fantastic job, he along with Rob Lewis, covering the Tennessee basketball team for us over at Volquest.com. Grant, Tennessee, a 4 seed in the East region, will take on Louisiana Thursday nights at past your bedtime at 9:40 Eastern Time. What do you like about that? Surprises, anything? What are your thoughts on Selection Sunday regarding Tennessee?
You're asking me what I like about a 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off? Yeah. I can assure you I like nothing. I had my heart set on Greensboro, North Carolina. I had my heart set on a 12:40, 120, whatever the I don't think Tennessee's played a night game in the first round in a decade plus. So I was not expecting 9:40. I was not expecting Orlando, but Louisiana is one of those teams that kind of you're in that 13 seed range. You kind of know the pool for pretty much what you're picking from or who you're going to get paired up against. Louisiana, it's all about Jordan Brown, 6'11", 225. Former 5-star guy, believe it or not, I believe back in the 2019 cycle. He signed with Eric Musselman in Nevada. Then he transferred to Arizona. Then he transferred to Louisiana, I believe, where his dad played after there's coaching change at Arizona. So he's a big time talent. This team goes as he goes. This is, he's everything for Louisiana. I think he averages 19 and 8, something like that. Now they have other guys that can score it and rebound it, but he's going to be the A1 guy. You're either going to have to shut him down and make everybody else beat you, or you're going to have to let him get his 20 and 10 and hope you can shut everybody else down. But Tennessee getting to the round of 32, which Oral Robertson, Duke on the other side of that quad is not a very good scenario for Tennessee either. But to get there, Tennessee's going to have to go through Jordan Brown. They're going to have to shut him down.
Now, you kind of mentioned the scouting report for Louisiana, but I said it in a couple of things right after the selection show, and I actually misquoted, and I apologize. It wasn't Jay Wright that said this. It was Seth Davis already calling the upset, Louisiana over Tennessee. Typically, 4s handle 13s. I get it's March Madness. And I understand that Tennessee is without Zakai Ziegler, but pretty much saying Tennessee is overseeded. They're not worthy of a 4 seed right now because of the way they play, 5 and 7 entering tournament play. Kind of what are your thoughts on that? Tennessee, this matchup, even without Zakai?
I mean, I'm not surprised to hear that Tennessee's going to be a trendy upset pick because Tennessee at one point, 8 weeks ago probably was on that number 1 seed line for a minute, and they were on the number 2 seed line for a while, and they were on the number 3 seed line for probably the last month. And they're 5 and 7 over their last 12, and they lost to Zakai Ziegler the second to last game of the regular season. He's, the heart and soul, the point guard, the starting point guard who does a ton for this team. So it makes sense for people to doubt this team. And you can honestly look at what Rick has done in March at Tennessee with some teams going out against Loyola in the second round in 2018 as a 3 seed, going out last year as a 3 seed that was red hot entering the NCAA tournament against Michigan in the second round, going out as a 5 during the COVID tournament against Oregon State in 2021 in Indianapolis. So I think it's fair to call Tennessee a trendy upset pick. I'm not surprised to hear they are one. Because Louisiana obviously is 26 wins, and they got a guy in Jordan Brown we just talked about that can play well and do a lot inside. But at the same time, Louisiana is 1 and 5 in quad 1 and quad 2 games. Texas beat them by 30 in Austin. They haven't been very competitive in those quad 1, quad 2 games that they lost, the big non-conference tests. So this Tennessee team still plays defense. They still got guys that can score it. We saw them, shoot it pretty well in Nashville in the SEC tournament. So they're going to be a trendy pick, but it's also a team that, when you play defense in March, anything can happen.
8 teams from the SEC are going dancing. That ties the Big Ten with 8 teams. Alabama, the number 1 seed overall. Tennessee's a 4. Kentucky's a 6. A&M is a 7. We know why, but still pretty too low for them, in my opinion. Missouri's a 7. Arkansas is an 8. Auburn's a 9. Mississippi State's an 11. No Vanderbilt. What's your thoughts on the conference's pool in the NCAA tournament?
Vanderbilt, probably too little too late. They've had some bad losses that kind of sink their resume a little bit earlier in the season. Auburn as an 8, or are they a 9? Which one are they on that side of it?
Auburn is a 9.
Either way, Houston gets the number 1 in the Midwest, but they're playing in Birmingham, and they could potentially be playing Auburn in the second round in Birmingham, which is obviously a home game for Auburn. So that was a bit crazy to me, a bit of a surprise. I thought everybody thought Kansas was going to get that number 1 seed in the Midwest and have that Kansas City regional. But they missed out on that. Texas A&M, I don't understand what A&M has done to the selection committee to offend them, but 2 years in a row. I mean, they make that run to the SEC tournament title game last year, and they were basically the first team. I think they were the first team left out of the 68-team field. They were number 69. And then this year, they finished second in the SEC. They go to the SEC title game. Again, they lose to Alabama this afternoon, and they're a number 7 seed. I don't really understand that. That's not really fair for A&M. I don't think it's fair for Penn State either. Penn State's, been pretty good recently. They went on a run to the Big Ten title game as well. So for them to get A&M in that 7-10 game, that's going to be tough. But for the league to get 8 teams in, it's a pretty good year for the league.
Thomas wants to know, can Tennessee get to the Sweet 16? Of course, that's the second weekend of play. It's something that's kind of eluded Tennessee a lot here lately. Last one was it the 2018-19 team?
To the Sweet 16, that's correct. I think they can because
how does Tennessee beat Duke, essentially?
You better shut them down. Duke doesn't shoot it that well. I don't think they rebound it that well. I don't know what the analytics are. I haven't really studied anything outside of Tennessee, Louisiana, and tip-off times at this point. But Duke was pretty average for a lot of the year. I mean, they were looking at probably a 6 or worse seed until they go on this run to win the ACC title. And, it's been a little bit of a struggle for John Shire in the first year. The problem is Duke's playing really well right now, and the problem is Oral Roberts is a really good basketball team. That is a legit number 12 seed that I wouldn't want any part of. Max Abmas, you probably remember that guy from the 2021 COVID tournament. They were a 15 seed. They beat Ohio State. I think they might have gone to the Sweet 16. I can't remember how that one played out, but that's a guy that he's averaged over 20 a game for 3 straight seasons now. So that's a really good basketball team. Either one of those matchups is going to be tough for Tennessee. You're not getting Duke in Greensboro. I think that's a plus if it is Tennessee and Duke in the second round. But it's also, a Duke team that's playing really well right now, and an Oral Roberts team that's no stranger to this tournament and knowing what to do to win in this tournament.
Now the bracket's been out for a little over, we'll call it 2 hours now officially. Looking at region by region, which one, in your opinion, is maybe the easiest path to a Final Four? Which one might be the toughest? The more I look at it again, and you have more knowledge on it than I do, but I think this East region's pretty tough. And maybe I'm just looking at it from a Tennessee perspective, but I think it's pretty tough.
It feels like there's a lot of conference championship teams, tournament championship teams in this East region. And I honestly don't know which one's the easiest, which one's the hardest. I haven't seen the full bracket outside of what Tennessee's got. Alabama, the way they're playing, I wouldn't want any part of Alabama. Purdue, what we saw from them today, what we've seen from them, Zach Edey is everything for them, and that guard play is not very good for Purdue. And Memphis is playing as well as I think. I wouldn't want any part of Memphis as a number 8 seed. If I'm a number 1 seed, it doesn't feel like that's very rewarding after we saw what Memphis was able to do against Houston today in that conference tournament championship game, and FAU. The same thing. They won a ton of games. They were ranked for a minute, if I'm not mistaken. I think they started like 22-1, or they had some kind of crazy record at some point. So that's a really good basketball team as well. So I do agree that the East Region, Kentucky, the 6th seed, obviously Tennessee doesn't want any part of Kentucky because we saw what happened there. Kansas State feels very similar to Tennessee. I think they were 17-3 or something at one point, and they are 6-7 over their last 13. So they're in a pretty similar situation. And then Marquette. I don't know what happened to Shaka Smart at Texas, but what he's been able to do at Marquette, the success he's had there in the short time he's been there, I think he's a pretty good basketball coach because they're playing as well as anybody in the country.
All right, man, last thing I'll ask you, and I asked this to Rob earlier when we made a little video after it was announced Tennessee was going to be a 4 in the East region. We talk about it every single week. That's, now exiting the SEC tournament, now to the NCAA tournament. What's your thoughts on Tennessee? No Zakai Ziegler, inconsistent at times, but kind of your overall thoughts on this team right now entering the NCAA tournament.
I'm about to blow your mind by telling you they're a very inconsistent basketball team. That's a big surprise, right? We haven't seen that since, October. I mean, for Josiah to score 20 against Ole Miss and then to kind of go missing in the second round of the SEC tournament against Missouri, that's kind of just what this team has been. Now, they shot it pretty well in Nashville. I thought they did enough offensively to win those games. Missouri's just a bad matchup for this team and how well they shoot it. And I feel sorry for, who gets matched up against Missouri in the NCAA tournament as a 7 seed. That's going to be tough. But what I saw offensively, it seems like progress. It seems kind of, I don't know, you're going into the NCAA tournament on a good note on the offensive end, even though you left the SEC tournament on Friday for the first time in a while. So if they can get some consistent shot making from Santi, from Josiah, if they can get something from Olivier, Jonas, whoever in the post, it doesn't matter who it is, just a little bit of productivity there, they can play inside out. And if the defense shows up, and really it's the final 5-6 minutes of games right now. They weren't good at Auburn. They didn't close there. They weren't good against Missouri in the final 2 minutes, really the final 5 minutes in terms of just scoring the basketball and finding answers. So I think their defense, and they have enough offense to keep them in games. It's just a matter of, how do they handle those final 5-6 minutes. And one of the crazy things about this Louisiana game, Tennessee is 203rd nationally in free throw percentage. Louisiana's 320th. So if this game comes down to the final 5 minutes and who's at the free throw line, God bless both these teams. I don't know who's going to take those shots or who's going to make them, but it's going to be interesting whatever happens.
Missouri is that 7th seed in the South region going up against 10th seeded Utah State. Potential for a second round matchup with 2nd seed Arizona.
That'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
Grant Ramey, Volquest.com, already got tons of coverage up there on the front page for Tennessee against Louisiana. That'll be Thursday night, 9:40 on TBS. Tennessee, a 4 seed in the East region for the NCAA tournaments, and we got it covered for you all week, all NCAA tournament long, however long they play, over at Volquest.com. Grant, appreciate it, buddy.
I don't ask Rick Barnes for much. I ask him to get me to the East Regional, Madison Square Garden. I got to get some food in New York City again. That's it.
Good luck with that. Hey, I think everybody's going to be rooting for that, but I wouldn't book those plane tickets just yet. That might be just a bit premature.
Cynical Eric Kane. See you later, buddy.
I've been hanging around Rob Lewis too much. Grant, appreciate it, man. All right, that is Grant Ramey at Volquest.com. We're going to get Matt Ray on, talk a little tonight. I wasn't trying to be rude there. I was just saying, it's a tough draw. Again, going back to what I said in segment 1. You got Louisiana that I think Tennessee will have no issue with. Duke's playing about his best, better than anybody in the country right now. That's going to be tough. Then you got Purdue in the Sweet 16 likely. So it's tough. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. It's a tough draw. So we'll see. Tennessee's got the number 1 defense in the land. So looking forward to seeing that in tournament action. And it all gets going on Thursday. Matt Ray will come up and we'll talk a little recruiting and look ahead to spring practice to conclude this edition of the Rocky Top Rewind. Welcome back into the Rocky Top Rewind. I am Eric Kane. As you watch us here on the Volquest YouTube channel, do us a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to the channel. Really do appreciate it. Had Grant Ramey on to talk hoops. Had Cedric Tillman on early in the program to talk about his NFL Combine experience. If you missed it, this will be available on demand. Of course, we'll podcast it as well. So great stuff with Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman. So someone that is equally as great, maybe, we're going to bring on right now. That is Matt Ray. Does an awesome job helping us out, covering recruiting, just about anything else here at Volquest.com. And that wasn't too mean, was it? You're as equally as great as Cedric Tillman, right?
Yeah. I was a Biletnikoff preseason watch list candidate last fall. Wasn't at the Division I level or anything like that, but it's there.
It's there, yeah.
Look it up. It's on Google.
Pretty much the same thing, man. Hey, the junior day is come and gone. There was the third junior day that happened last weekend. Kind of a smaller crowd than expected, but nonetheless, it was a big spring coming up. Tennessee beginning spring practice. Going to be a lot of kids in and off campus here, but a guy that did come a couple of weeks ago, I believe, is a tight end that Tennessee really likes. And I was talking about the importance of the tight end position, how Tennessee needs to reload at that position. A guy by the name of Dylan Hip, good size, 6'6", 230. Where's Tennessee kind of stand right now with Dylan Hip?
Yeah, so Tennessee had him in last week, and Dylan Hip has been here before, and that's something that I think was important coming into this visit. He came in more as a business trip. He didn't want to see the flashy stuff, see around campus, anything like that. He wanted to sit down with Alec Ablin, go one-on-one, learn more about this Tennessee offense, and see more about what he's been hearing. They spent a lot of time watching cut-ups, hearing the pitch about how he can play, what they see him doing. He's a guy that really is a student of the game, embraces a lot of, the off-field, type of stuff. He understands that for him right now, naturally at 6'6", 230 pounds out there in Arizona, his role is a pass catcher in high school, and he does that efficiently, but he understands that to be a Division I tight end, he's got to come in, work in line and block. And I think that's something that stands out to him about Tennessee's offense is how, much demand they put on that at the tight end position. And then I think with Alec Ablin, the time that he spent with the offensive line, I think that's something that stands out to Dylan Hip. He understands the importance of blocking and how that's going to get you from the college level to the pro level. And Alec Ablin touched base with Dylan Hip really early after getting the promotion to tight ends coach. And when I talked to Hip after that, that was one of the things that stood out to him was that aspect of the conversation. And again, going back to this past week, had a chance to talk with him and just really, I think the relatability of Alec Ablin and that, getting to focus on blocking C gap and how they use that to set up the pass for the tight ends. I think that really stood out. I think Tennessee's in a good spot for Dylan Hip right now. He's taking a lot of visits right now with his mom. They were at Louisville. After Tennessee, they were at Ole Miss. Maybe one more before they go back west, but he's seeing some schools out here. And right now, Tennessee's in that core group for him. He's planning to be back for an official visit. So it's big to get Dylan Hip out here and just allow him to sit down and get some one-on-one time with Alec Ablin.
Tony's chiming in right here, Matt. He makes a great point. Tennessee's done a really great job the last two cycles in attacking the edge, getting after the quarterback. But Tony wants to know kind of where's Tennessee with defensive tackles, interior presence on that defensive line for the class of 2024.
Yeah, they have. They've really stacked the edge position, and they're in a good spot with several edge rushers right now. That defensive tackle position, I think, for Tennessee has been interesting since this group has been here. Not so much those space eaters that I think everybody's accustomed to seeing, but guys that you can get up to 295, 300 pounds and can move and do things inside out. And that's, again, where Tennessee's at with this cycle. You've got Camarion Franklin, who is really long and can add that necessary weight, but is uber athletic. Williams Winery, another guy. And Tennessee, they're battling for both those. Those are probably the two headliners at the position. And Tennessee's at least got their ear. They're working with both those guys. Ole Miss and Florida State, really the teams involved the most right now that I think Tennessee's battling for with Camarion Franklin. Whereas with one area, everybody in the country is involved there. But in talking to him, he likes what he hears from Tennessee. He liked that initial visit, and he's planning to get back out here at some point, either later this spring or in the summer. And then, seen some more offers go out lately. A guy that was on campus for junior day last weekend and didn't have an offer in hand at the time, but has seen his stock continue to increase in recent weeks, and then picked up an offer a couple of days after the junior days. Marcus Downs from South Carolina is around 6'5", 270 pounds, and has plenty to grow that frame and be an interior defensive lineman at the next level. And he was really high on Tennessee before he got the offer, and is high on him now that he has the offer.
You know, Matt, a name that kind of keeps just popping back up, and I think it's a big spring ahead for him. He's been a Tennessee baseball commit for a little while now, but his football recruiting really heating up. And I think somebody posed it, and I can't remember if it was just a board question, if it was a Monday Night Chat, maybe it was a question to you or AP. I can't remember, but somebody kind of said, like, is Tennessee falling behind in that one? And I don't think that's the case. Would you?
Amari Jefferson?
Yes, Amari Jefferson. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case either. I mean, the competition is much more stiff right now, but I don't think Tennessee's falling behind in that one. A lot of good conversation there. Maury is really good at balancing this process and going through everything. He's been on recruiting trips. He's been doing off-season weight training. He's getting ready for baseball. That season starts tomorrow for them. First actual game that's not a scrimmage is tomorrow. So, he's going to see Clemson. He's seen Georgia. He's seen Alabama. He's going to see Tennessee later this month. That's a big visit. You need to continue to move the needle with Amari Jefferson. You're going to see some other programs. He wants to see Texas A&M. More offers continue to come in, but Tennessee's in a good spot with him. They've had him up for the Alabama game. He's been here for other games. He's been here to camp. So, there's familiarity there, and it's not that Tennessee's dropped the ball on this recruitment or anything like that. It's just that, he's gone through the process, and everybody is turning up the attention on him. He's one of those kids that everybody really wanted to see what he looked like coming out of his junior year. And he backed everything up on the field as you would expect, but he's a baseball prospect, and I think that happens a lot. He's got a chance to get drafted. So a big summer for him, in talking to him, something that he's excited about in terms of, where his draft prospects are. So he's got a lot to weigh out. I think that, could cause some hesitation with a few schools and why you're seeing this late surge. But he's a kid that I think is going to continue to climb the rankings, this fall if he backs up what he put on tape in his junior season.
Matt, you brought up baseball right there. Quickly, before we move on to some more football stuff, how much did you enjoy covering the 23-4 beatdown Tennessee over Morehead State on Friday night?
It was the highlight of my week, Eric. It was the highlight of my week. It was must-see TV, here. Obviously, I didn't make it to the park, so it was definitely must-see TV for me. No pun intended there. But, yeah, no, it was good. I think I'm going to cover one more weekend series for you later in the year. So it's an SEC series, so should be a little more exciting.
Well, I got to come back for the twin bill on Saturday, 6-0 and 6-3. So can't say I missed covering the 23-4 game. Although you got to see a cycle, which is really, really cool. So that's
well. Everybody's talking about the upcoming NFL draft and who's going to find, the sleeper and the steals and everything like that. Nobody's talking about my decision to pick Friday over Saturday and miss that doubleheader. That's nobody's talking about that. So
that is true. Yeah, you missed out on a twin bill. That is true. But hey, those were pretty quick games on Saturday, and it really helped me out with everything else going on today. So I was all for it. It worked out. Hey, spring practice coming up week after next. We've done some writing. We've discussed a little bit, biggest questions, who we're kind of looking for, veterans to look out for, newcomers to look out for, position battles, all that, more coverage coming up in written form this week. But just kind of from a broad perspective, what are you looking for? Kind of what are you going to be on the lookout for this next week whenever spring practice begins for Tennessee?
I'm always intrigued in spring to see the transformation for the freshmen, incoming guys. What do they look like? We know Caleb Harris spot on good way, but what does Nathan Laycock look like? How is, Jack Luttrell, what's he added to his frame? I'm excited to see some of these guys. Sham Umarov, a guy that is, I think, a massive tackle and has a bright future at Tennessee, just turned 18 years old recently. And I'm thinking back to, man, I didn't realize he was that young, when he was kind of going through things. So how's the weight room treated a guy like that? That's always, I think, the first thing that I'm most interested in. And then I'm really looking to see some of these guys from first to second year, what they look like, how they've matured inside the program. James Pierce, Josh Josephs, Elijah Herring, Caleb Perry. And then I'm really, I think probably the biggest, piece as far as a position group we'll be looking at least for me, is the secondary. What's the competition like at corner? What's the competition like at safety? Obviously, there's plenty of competition across the field. Offensive tackle is going to be interesting. I'm very interested in the secondary.
Yeah, you and me both, and everybody watching right now, kind of who plays where. Kind of on that note, like you always want to see what do the freshmen look like, but also you want to see what those transfers look like. And one guy that's I think a lot of fans are hoping can come in and play right away is Gabe Judy Lolly at cornerback from BYU and formerly of Vanderbilt. Michael has a really good question here. Which of the young linemen can crack the two deep and contribute? I don't think you or I, either one, could say we feel confident saying, a true freshman now or a rising sophomore, can be there, at this position or this position. But what we can say, and add to this, please, I think Addison Nichols, this is a massive spring for him. One,
Yep.
Where are you? Strength-wise, aggression-wise, are you a center? Are you a guard? Are you a right tackle? What the heck's going on? Masai Reddick drew a lot of praise from former Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golish. How has a year in the weight and conditioning program been for him? And then Brian Grant, who I still don't think is ready to contribute, but coming in, you and I, both covered his recruitment and had such a basketball build, was so new to football. Kind of where is he now in his third semester of football at this level? I think those are some big questions for some of those guys who came in last year. And then Mo Clipper, probably a name that we never ever mentioned. Those second-year offensive linemen, can any of those guys crack and really contribute this year? Big spring for those guys.
Yeah, I think it's just a big spring all around for that group that you mentioned entirely. Really interested to see what Tennessee does at center. I think you're going to see Addison Nichols get more work there. I won't be surprised to see Masai Reddick get more work there.
Behind Cooper Mays, yeah.
Yeah, behind Cooper Mays, obviously. Behind Cooper Mays, yeah. At that two spot, who's going to be, the guy that can come in and get you some relief if Cooper Mays goes down or needs a blow or something like that. So I think that's going to be very interesting to watch. Where does Mo Clipper fit in? I think that he's a guy that has the IQ to, be a center, but is that his fit? Is he going to be a guard? Tennessee's got some questions to answer on the offensive line inside of that two deep. I think obviously the tackle battle is going to be interesting. What's John Campbell do? But for those young guys, it's you need to stamp your spot inside this rotation because Tennessee's recruiting a lot of offensive linemen again in the cycle, primarily more at the offensive tackle position. But you want to make a good impression this spring going into the fall.
Yeah, it's no secret too. Tennessee was in on a lot of tackles this year, and it got from its big wish list. Okay, I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but from its wish list at this position, Tennessee got 1 of 4, right? And it's wanting to recruit better at that position and so on and so forth. Also, in terms of the guard, it's a big spring for. Is it going to be Andre Current coming in from Texas? Is it as simple as taking a tackle body, sliding him inside, and playing guard, kind of in this offense? I think that's the idea right now, but we'll have to see. But also, two veterans, Ollie Lane and Jackson Lampley, like they've been there, they've contributed in a major way for Tennessee each of the past 2 seasons. But is that the ceiling, or is there another level for those guys? Like now's the time for those guys as well. We kind of made this an offensive line segment, but there's a lot of questions there, and they're not going to find out all those answers during spring practice, but I think it'll go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andre Carrick, I completely forgot about him.
Yeah,
that's a veteran guy that comes in that can find a spot. So it's going to be for the offensive line. And like I said, I think I'm most intrigued by the secondary, but there's a lot to watch along the offensive line this spring.
Matt Ray, appreciate it as always, man. What do you got coming up on the side? I know you're always talking to some prospects, not even 24, sometimes 25s and beyond, but a lot of good stuff coming up this week, I would imagine, from you on the recruiting side.
Yeah, finishing out some junior day coverage from some guys that we haven't got out there yet. A couple of guys still holding out as far as pieces go, and then be on the road a little bit more this week. I plan to see Amari Jefferson at some point, and maybe some others around the state as well.
And you can catch all of his coverage, APs, and everybody else over at Volquest.com. $29.99, a 1-year subscription to Volquest.com. Hey, come be a part of the family. The General's Quarters, it's something. If you don't know what I'm talking about, $29.99. Come join our family. You won't want to miss out. Tennessee and the NCAA tournament tipping off 9:40 Eastern Time. That's coming up on Thursday, televised on CBS. 4th-seeded Tennessee in the East region taking on 13th-seeded Louisiana, and we'll have full coverage of that leading up to tip-off, and of course Tennessee in that game and throughout the weekend as long as it continues to play. And if you came late to the party here tonight, Cedric Tillman joined us in the second segment of the show. We'll podcast it, but we'll have it out there. Former Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman on his combine experience and the NFL draft process. A lot of good stuff from number 4 earlier here tonight. For Cedric Tillman, for Matt Ray, for Grant Ramey, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate Trey in the back end making all this work. Appreciate you guys for sending in your questions and watching us as always. We'll be back next week, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, for another edition of the Rocky Top Rewind.